My name is Mark Anthony Sutton, aka Big Preach.
And you grew up where?
I grew up right here in Pasadena. We're in my backyard at the Rose Bowl.
What schools did you attend?
Oh, shit. Well, I went to a few schools because I was constantly being kicked out. I started at Blair, and then I went from Blair to Muir, and then I went from Muir to Foothill. Those were my schools that I was able to attend without having any confrontations.
Okay, good. So you grew up predominantly here in the Pasadena area, all your
Right.
life.
Yeah, most definitely. Right here in Pasadena.
And can you give me, what year did the PDL actually start? Let's start there.
For me, it started in 72, 73, somewhere around there. At the end of 72, beginning of 73.
Okay, and how old are you, sir?
I'm 56 years old.
56. So
Yeah.
you was there on the forefront when it started? Or?
Yeah, I'm one of the original founders of PDL. So the difference between PDL and Denver Lane and Devil Lane, there's 3 different sets in Pasadena, in addition to a few other ones that then developed during my incarceration. But the PDLs were originally started by myself and a few of my homeboys. Pasadena Denver Lanes, and then you're talking about LA Denver Lanes. The homie Jerry Smallwood was the first LA Denver Lane to come to Pasadena, which brought PDL, which made it eventually become PDL.
Okay, so how long did Jerry spend out here?
Jerry was out here a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years before he ended up going to prison.
Okay, all right. So that's how the foundation itself came together. And you guys created
built
it.
Right. We build the hood from the foundation, which is Jerry, and then from there we began to start branching out, and we put the P on it, which became Pasadena Denver Lanes. It eventually came Devil Lanes. During an interview that a newspaper reporter came to us, little homie, what were we doing and who we were, and he told him who we were. But when the article came out saying Devil Lane instead of Denver. And then the homies and them kind of adopted that name and kind of took with it. Some of them stayed with Devil and some of them went with Denver.
Okay.
That's how it got split like that.
I got a question for you, Preach. I recently come into some information about the 2 P's and a B. Now, this is what they told me. They stands for 2 Pyrus and a blood, right?
Right.
Have you ever heard that before?
No, it was the 2 P's and a B is they're Pacoima Piru bloods. That's what 2 P's and a B is.
Okay.
Pacoima Piru bloods. So, and they were like allies with PDLs because they right there next to us. So we kind of linked up with them. So I know a lot about the history of them.
So that's the point what I'm getting to. A lot of people equate that is the 2 Pyrus were the Pacoima Piru and also the 456. And then you guys were the B, in other words, the blood, because you guys are not Pyrus.
No.
Correct it for me.
Well, no. Well, the 456 was considered like gangsters in the Crip territory, and then the 2 P's and the B was Pacoima Piru bloods.
Okay.
That's what it was. Okay. Pacoima Piru bloods. That's how that became
Okay, so
about.
back to the PDL. I know a couple of people like Psych Hunt Down and Mad.
Right.
You familiar with those names?
Yeah, those my little homies. They out there. They came behind me.
Okay.
All of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So growing up in Pasadena, so what was your boundaries?
So Woodbury and Raymond below Orange Grove, which was the Raymond Crips, which initially they were Alley Cat Crips, then they became Raymond Crips. So because the street right there is Raymond, and then it became the Altadena blocks, which have been around for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna be moving in tents. So.
We gotta get these people close. They burning us.
Okay, we're just moving around.
Yeah.
There's no big talk.
That's how that came about.
So growing up here in Pasadena, Preach, wasn't because a lot of people consider you guys like kind of grew up with wealth or grew up in a great area predominantly, you know what I mean? Because if you look around the hillside,
Right.
the hillside, man,
Right.
that is a great view right there.
Well, I mean, if you think about certain areas of, like Watts wasn't always considered all black at one point. Compton, it's the same thing like here in Pasadena. There's areas where people are wealthy. I lived in the projects, and my projects was projects. We had roaches and rats right here in Pasadena, and I've been in the projects all my life. I came from Chicago projects to California projects. So, and there's areas which is called the Snake Pits, the Kings Manors, the Low Bottoms, the top, like those are all projects where we predominantly lived at.
So would it be fair to say that the rest of Pasadena kind of excluded themselves from where you guys are? In other words, they categorize you.
Well, let's
make themselves seem different.
Most definitely. I remember a news reporter spoke with me. It was a sit down, and he was shocked about some of the things that I shared with him that I experienced in Pasadena. So there's portions of Pasadena that they intentionally make it appear that Pasadena don't have a gang problem. When I'd have been stabbed, shot, this finger right here was cut off, it don't bend, I'd have been busted head with bats. I mean, I didn't had a lot of stuff go down right here in Pasadena, right? But the city, the people of Pasadena, like the wealthy people, when you talk about those people up there, they treat this part of Pasadena as their backyard.
Right.
And so this part of Pasadena is not, the part that I come from is not highlighted.
Gotcha.
And they intentionally sweep it under the rug. Some people came here thinking that Pasadena didn't have a gang problem and filed complaints to the city because the city sell Pasadena as a place with no problems.
City of Roses.
Yeah. Right?
Anything you put with roses seemed like a lovely situation.
Right, most definitely.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, what we're saying is, like, this is a real issue. That's the reason why myself, I work now as a frontline gang interventionist. I deal with homies that may be strapped, getting ready to go commit crimes. I right there with them, tell them, listen, I mean, you just asked me to help you get a job. You just had a baby and you work for the city. I'm not telling you what not to do, because at the end of the day, you make your own decisions. But what I am saying to you is think about the consequences of it. Like, do you love your family? Is this your community? If this your community, then why is it that people in your community is afraid to walk down the street?
That's true. That's true.
That don't make sense. You love your community? Some of the cats that I know, Bumpy Johnson back in the day had the first bank. They built their community up. So my objective is to talk to the homies about how do you give back to your community, and this is a part of what I do, and then to put them on the right track and show them how to start their own businesses. You got homies in the pen, and you ain't doing nothing for them. Like, how can you help their family while they locked up?
I'm glad you mentioned the pen. Perfect segue.
Yeah, it goes off,
Ray Brown, was he ever a part of the PDL?
No.
So he just was somebody that lived in this community that predominantly just did whatever he did.
He did his thing independent of the PDL. He had a little brother, which was Honeyman, which is my little homie. He's the homie, he with me. Honeyman was a PDL, but Ray never was a PDL.
Okay, got it. I'm glad you cleared that up, because they were all BGF, him and Doc Holliday and McFadden and those guys, right?
Well, I mean, when it comes to them, I really kind of stay away from their thing. I just stick to what I know, and that's PDL.
And that's great, great. So can you preach from the 70s, right? Give me the hand gods, because I know every tribe got some hand gods. I'm talking about they just was ferocious with them hands.
It was a few of them. That was, I'm just going to say one right off the bat, Lalo. Lalo was a knockout artist. Cowhead was a really good knockout artist too. There's a few of them, but I don't want to put too many names out there, because
I understand that.
Before y'all go too far, when did you move out here from Chicago, and what was your family setting?
So I moved out here from Chicago when I was 10 years old. And it was a culture shock to me, because I was used to more organized type of crime, which was Black Panthers, because my uncles were all Black Panthers. And then I was used to, disciples and vice lords, and they had captains, lieutenants, and they had rank. So they getting ready to move this tent now. Yeah. So at the end of the day,
I think they abandoned that place.
Yeah, they abandoned the plan. Yeah. So that's what it was about. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was about. So, you know, when I was exposed initially right away to there's a gang here in Pasadena, which is one of the oldest Crip gangs. They call West Side Crips. They the oldest Crip gang in Pasadena, and I got into it with a West Side Crip when I was walking to the store.
So
You know.
what year do you think those guys came out?
They were way before me, so I would say maybe the late '60s, early '70s, somewhere around there, because a lot of them was about my oldest brother age. So
are they still around?
There's no West Side Crips. They all claim Altadena Block or Raymond.
So would it be perfect? I mean, would it be okay to say that they might have migrated from the west side of Los Angeles out here and just whatever was carrying from there, they carried it over to here?
Well, that's possible, but you know, when it comes to this gang stuff, I don't.
What you don't know, you don't.
I don't speculate on things that I don't know.
That's a good way to look.
You know what I mean? So, you know, and people got their own version of history, and right when you start saying certain things about certain histories that you're not familiar with, then they got a different perspective. I know Pasadena history because I'm a part of it. So nobody can't tell me what happened in Pasadena when I was there. Right.
I got no question.
Okay, well,
I'm just saying, them strong points he made.
Yeah. Great. So, can I get a roll call if that's okay? Is that fair?
Roll call for what?
Some of the originals.
Well, you know, look, I don't have a problem with that, but you know, I really don't.
You don't know if they want their name.
I don't really want to put their names out there like that. You know, some of them are still in prison doing life, trying to get out of parole online. With my organization, I do support letters for them to get out of prison, and so I don't really want to continue to put them out there because it'll come if somebody catch wind. Yeah, and then the parole board will say, well, you know, your name is still ringing in the street, and you still being this and that, and they'll try to use that to deny them parole. You know.
Understandable.
So
were you ever in prison?
Yeah, I was in prison.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I was in prison.
Were you ever part of the bloodline or UBN?
No, none of that.
Stayed PDL all the way through?
All the way through. Never paperwork. They call it paperwork. Never been on paperwork. And in addition to that, I was locked up I had a murder and attempt to murder, and I was locked up for 38 years to life, and I did 26 years.
Oh, well, yeah, you definitely saw it. You was there, and to remain strong and on your stance and what you believed in was phenomenal.
Right.
You know, because a lot of people, they can't withstand that pressures that's coming from those from
sectors.
That paperwork or whatever that is.
Yeah, and then that paperwork was basically supposed to be for prison, but then it ended up coming to the streets.
Right.
And that was one of the things that I resisted and didn't like. You know.
Right.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I was basically not in favor of.
Right.
You here to volunteer?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was one of the things that I wasn't in favor of. So I spoke out against that.
Familiar with Peabody?
Yeah, I met Peabody a couple of times. Yeah, that was the first person I met.
What about Mike? Little Mike from Denver Lane with the green eyes.
I don't know him.
They call him Devil, I think, or something.
Yeah, I don't know him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, look, let me get back to work, brothers. I appreciate that. You know,
man.
y'all want to talk to me
Much love.
again? We'll get back together.
Much love, man.
All right.
That microphone.